Welcome everybody to another edition of Talking with Heroes talk show program. I am Bob Calvert, your host. Once again, Ron Link, retired Army Ranger, 20-year veteran, served our country. He's behind the camera. And we're here on talkingwithheroes.com, our online news site. Thank you for your service. .us. By now, many of you have been watching the videos as we've gone from one place in Iraq to another with these great troops that we have serving our country. Great stories, and we're here in another location now. We're still in Baghdad, or actually we're back in Baghdad from where we were in Ramadi the other day, and we're at Camp Victory now. And we are now with the Idaho Army National Guard, and they also have with them serving over here a battalion from the Oregon and Montana Army National Guard. We're with the 116th Cavalry Brigade under the command of the U.S. Division Center. It's an honor to introduce to you Staff Sergeant April Davis. Welcome to Talking with Heroes to the American people.
Welcome, Bob. We're so glad that we could have you with us today. We really appreciate what you're doing here.
Well, it's an honor to come over here, and it's, you know, I always say this at the end, but it can be said now, there's a grateful nation watching these videos to see all that you're all doing over here. So why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how long you've served?
Well, I've been in the Army National Guard for 11 years, National Guard the entire time. I'm a staff sergeant, and I do public affairs for the brigade, the 116th Cavalry Brigade, and this is my first deployment. Back home, waiting for me, I have a husband and 3 children, 3 boys, ages 8, 6, and 4, and looking forward to getting home to them, and we really appreciate everyone's support.
Do you get to talk to your husband and the kids like on Skype or something?
I do. I talk to them regularly on Skype, and that's nice, especially for those of us that have young children, because we get to watch them grow, so that when we do get back home, it's not such a surprise on how big they've gotten and how much they've changed.
Yeah, I got a little education on Skype because my son-in-law was deployed twice, and young kids like yours, and it's good that you all can keep in touch with family like that, though.
It is. It makes you feel like you're not missing out on so much, and like I said, you get to watch the changes take place over time instead of being shocked by them all when you come back home, and it helps for the children to see, you know, their parents, because they have a hard time, especially with the really younger ages. They know mom or dad is gone, but to be able to see them periodically throughout the year that we're gone, it helps their mental well-being as well.
Of course, National Guard is different. Reserves are different than active duty. Most of you all have a job or a career or something back home. Is that the same with you? Or?
I've been working full-time for the National Guard for the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years. But yes, we do have a large amount of soldiers in our brigade that have civilian jobs waiting for them back home. And of course, those jobs are federally protected, but it's a hard transition. We really have to work cooperatively with those employers and those communities back home to make sure that our soldiers are getting the support that they need and that they can transition back into those jobs successfully.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the 116th Cavalry Brigade and what you do.
Well, the 116th Cavalry Brigade is a heavy armor brigade, traditionally. However, for this mission, we have quite a different mission over here now, with it being Operation New Dawn. We provide the garrison command for Victory Base Complex, and what that is we basically manage the Victory Base Complex, manage the camps, provide all the life support for the soldiers and civilians that live and work here, as well as the force protection to make sure that the camps are safe for our soldiers and civilians that live and work here.
And you probably have soldiers with you that have been through many deployments here, right?
We do. Actually, the brigade deployed in 2004, 2005 for Operation Iraqi Freedom, and during that time they were up in Kirkuk, and it was during full spectrum operations, so it's quite a bit different deployment for our brigade this time, but we have soldiers with experience, which really helped with our train up and getting the new soldiers trained up and prepared for deployment that hadn't deployed before, as well as mentoring those other younger soldiers and less experienced on deployment soldiers through this deployment. So it's been good to have that experience.
Do you all get to work with the Iraqis much, or is it more with your own soldiers?
Some of our units do, not all of our units, but quite a few do. We have our quick reaction forces for our force protection that will they patrol around Victory Base Complex in coordination with the Iraqi police and the Iraqi Army. They have Iraqi police or Iraqi Army escorts. We have entry control points where we control entry into the base. And so those soldiers that work on entry control points, they get to work with Iraqis often by processing, personnel and vehicles through the gates, and as well as, working in coordination with the Iraqi police and Iraqi Army.
Now, one of the things I've noticed compared to other times I've been here, I know you hear about incidences back home on the news, but overall, though, it's a completely different city, Baghdad, right now than it was a few years ago. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. This being my first deployment, I can't speak from general site experience myself, but I've talked to a lot of our soldiers who can attest to it's a much different Iraq now under Operation New Dawn. It's more secure, less violence. I mean, there's still some danger, but it's a lot less than what it used to be when they were here in 2004 and 2005, and they've seen the progress, and they know that what we're doing here really makes a difference.
Great. One of the things we talk a lot about is care packages. And do you all get them here? Do you have any particular organizations helping you, and what does it mean to you all?
We do get care packages, a lot of care packages from home. Support from our communities back home in Idaho, Oregon, and Montana has been wonderful. We receive, things from a group called For the Troops, as well as just local businesses. We get a lot of local businesses like credit unions and, different community organizations that they get together and they put care packages together and send them over here. We even had a dentist's office send us a whole bunch of dental hygiene kits. So we really appreciate the support. It lets us know that we're not forgotten, and it really warms our hearts to receive those packages from back home, from states that we're from. It feels like we're still in touch with our communities.
So we hear on the news a lot about the drawdown, but yet there's going to be troops here at least till the end of the year, so people need to keep up that support, right?
They do. We are going to have some people here. Of course, it's getting less and less, as we draw troops down. But we will have some people here until the end, until all U.S. forces leave at the end of the year. So to keep that support up lets the soldiers that are here at the end know that they're not forgotten, and that their work here makes a difference, and that the people back home appreciate it.
Okay. Why don't you look at the camera and give a shout out to family and friends back home?
I would like to say hello to my husband, Dean, and my 3 beautiful boys back home, as well as my mother-in-law, who is diligently taking care of the boys and helping my husband out back home, as well as my mom, my sister, and my dad.
Okay, now we're getting ready to go on a tour, right? Why don't you let people know what they're getting ready to see a little bit?
Well, we're going to take you on a little bit of a tour, show you around Victory Base Complex, and we're going to show you where some of the unit locations are. You'll get to talk to some of our different troops that provide the force protection and security for Victory Base Complex, as well as some of our mayor cells that provide oversight for all of the different camps and provide a lot of the logistical support and take care of each of those camps.
Okay, great. Now there's a vehicle sitting next to us. I guess we're going to walk over there and then we're going to show people the vehicle.
Yes, we have a Russian BMP vehicle that was just found here, and we kind of set it up here. Garrison commands throughout, the history of the theater of operations have had it here just on display as a little piece of history.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and walk over. Well, I'll tell you what. I would not want to be traveling inside this vehicle. It is definitely not like our modern vehicles. But I'll tell you what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce you all to somebody you're going to hear more from a little later, Captain Callendar. Would you like to tell us a little bit about this vehicle, sir?
Thanks, Bob. This here is the Russian BMP infantry fighting vehicle. Steel plate all around. Some distinctive features about most Soviet vehicles that set them apart from the Allied during the Cold War vehicles. External gas tanks. This one doesn't have one. It's obviously been removed. Also spotlights, as you can see up there. So you move forward, you can see the soldiers inside would actually be able to take their own AK-47s and stick them out of these gun ports, and as the vehicle moved forward into the lines, they would be able to shoot at the oblique and help defend the vehicle. Moving forward, you'll also notice that that's unlike the T-72s, this is actually just about shoulder height. So the BMP, in addition to moving the troops forward in the battle, some of the troops could come out, and if they came along the side, it's about shoulder height, they could use the BMP as a form of cover and concealment. This main gun up here would not only help defend the vehicle, but could be used to take out gun emplacements, vehicles in the front, as well as punch through small walls, allowing the troops inside to move forward and engage the enemy. Notice that the BMP is also a little lower than most tracked vehicles you'll see. One of the reasons is because it also served as an amphibious vehicle. The swing plate would drop down and allow the BMP to go through water a little bit easier than most vehicles its size and draft. And you also notice here an homage to the 116th Idaho tag, so it's nice and street legal. Back to you, Bob.
Oh, by the way, this is what we drink a lot of out here. We have to literally guzzle it. After being inside this vehicle, I figured I need at least a half a bottle of this here.
At least.
Let me put it down. Well, thank you, Captain. And of course, we're going to be talking with you in a little while to tell people a little bit about you, what you do, and you actually may be on another tour we're looking at going on, right?
Right, I think you were talking about going to another place to help you out.
The Palace. Mm-hmm. Cool. Be a treat. 95% of the American people have never seen what's going on in these videos. That's about to change. Well, folks, once again, you're watching all this from Iraq on TalkingWithHeroes.com, and we're getting ready now to go to another location. That's my bottle popping here. And I want to thank again Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. That's embryriddle.edu for making this trip possible, and Mark Lydon with the book Veterans Do This Get Hired, DoThisGetHired.com. Mark introduced us to Embry-Riddle, and as a result, we're here in Iraq and heading over to Afghanistan next. Take these videos, get them out to as many people as you can across America so millions of people can see stories they've probably never seen before anywhere else. So we'll be back with more from here in Iraq.